So, let me get my mic going.
Let me get my incense burning.
I see we have Misha in the room.
Whoa.
Good to see you. Let me know if my fan in the background is too loud, and I will turn it down. It's a little warm, and I just got out of the shower.
Sames.
Yeah, I just cut my hair, so I'm trying to be a little. Didn't want to have a bunch of itchy hair on me. And I see Yipper in here also. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Shalom. Um, I guess we will go on ahead and get started. First and foremost, I want to give all praise and honor to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. That is giving honor to our Heavenly Father Yahweh through His Son Yahweh Shai, which the world knows as Jesus Christ. This episode, I figured this one is setting up for multiple episodes. I have done a couple of videos before establishing a lot of the proof and evidence for why I believe the so-called African Americans are the Hebrew Israelites, or just people within the transatlantic slave trade. So that would actually extend to anybody who kind of came out of West Africa in that transatlantic slave trade. But what I have not done on here, well, I'll say what I haven't done very thoroughly is I haven't went into why I always cite the Native Americans and Latinos to be Israelites also, which I feel tonight would be a good night for us to go into that and show some evidence. I know we've showed like the, I think I've showed the Back Creek stone. I think I've showed the Los Lunas Decalogue stone, but there's more evidence to go into that. Now, just like I say, even with what I believe is the Southern Kingdom, which the Southern Kingdom would make up what is called colloquially Jews. That would be, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the three southern tribes, which actually that can get a little bit complicated because Levi would have a suburb or small area within all the tribes. So there would be Levi mixed in with every single tribe. But the bulk of their tribe would be along with the southern kingdom. So in the New Testament, when it keeps talking about the Jews, the Jews, the Jews, it is talking about those three tribes. Now, were there remnants of some of the other northern tribes there along with the bulk of the southern tribes? Yes. So it would lead for disbursement of all 12 of the tribes into various different locations. A lot of the camps focus mainly on the Americas, North America, South America, Central America. But that does not limit to the remnant, which some of them will be still in the outskirts of the land, places like Palestine, Iran, Iraq. We also had the sub-Saharan slave trade, and we also had the Silk Road slavery, which would have taken some Israelites as far away even as to China or Japan. So you got to keep all those things in mind, but those are remnants. That is not the bulk. So the reason why a lot of the camps talk about, the Americas is because that's where the bulk of the Israelites are going to be, and we will substantiate that. We're going to go in this first video. This first stream, we're going to go into a very, very good video by Captain Malak of AOC, which AOC stands for Alpha and Omega Clan. They are a Hebrew Israelite group, which is predominantly based out of New York City. So that said, I know that was a mouthful and kind of a little bit of a long entry, but I'll ask, how is my brother Fuzz? How are you doing tonight?
Doing all right, sir. Doing all right. What about you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Glad to see Misha and Yipper in here. We'll get started because uh, uh, all we need to do is have two or three in his name, and we have church. So we have the body here, and we will go ahead and get started. Let me know if the little flickers of my hat bother you guys too much. I just noticed that the bottom part of the brim is green, and so with the green screen, it does kind of affect it slightly. I don't know, maybe you guys just thought that I had a sparkly hat, but either way, Fuzz, I want you to go ahead and start with Deuteronomy 28. Bring that up. We're going to need Deuteronomy 28 because one of the biggest ways to substantiate who the Israelites are is Deuteronomy 28. There are many other places we can go also, but I like to show the blessings and the curses because it is important. That is what it says. I'm trying to remember, what is that, 28:46 or 48? It looks like glitter. That's funny. But yeah, Fuzz, bring. You know which verse I want?
Eagle.
No, that'll be on your for a sign and a wonder.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is 47.
Let me
Yeah,
try placing my camera at different spots.
that would be Deuteronomy 28 and 46.
Yeah, okay, yeah, 46. I couldn't remember if it was 46 or 48.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
Right. Oh, sorry. Can you read that one more time? Nice and loud, nice and loud. I want to make sure that my fan is not blocking it out. Wait a minute. Let me do this. I probably just need to turn it up. Hello, I was going to say Marcus Cap is blinging.
Let's actually start up.
I got them diamonds in there, boy. I got them diamonds, son.
Let's actually start at verse 45 for a little bit of more context.
All right.
So this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed. Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
All right. Yeah, let me turn that up. Turn you up just a little bit more. There we go. Yeah, I forgot that I turned down my headphones just a little bit, so I needed to turn it up to hear you better. So that's it says that is going to be on the Israelites for us. See, actually, let me not play around this time and just go ahead and actually get my Bible. So hold on one second. I'll be right back. All right. Let's go. Let's go. All right. So now I got mine also. Now let's get to Deuteronomy 28 and 68 because this is a verse which, and I want to do this also to help with Native Americans and Latinos out there, which I say and profess that are Israelites also. But also, I want to do this for the naysayers who say that they are not. We're going to start out this, and then I got a video that I want to bring up definitely. But going ahead.
So this is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Thank you, thank you. So that's letting you know that the Israelites are going to go into captivity, and no person is going to save them from this captivity. If you look at what happened with, let's just say the Aztecs, which eventually became the land of Mexico, that were they actually saved from it? No. If you look at the government of Mexico, still to this day, many of the people who are in power in that government are Spaniards. They are not the indigenous people of that land. And so that should be something that should be always kept in mind. That's not the one I need right now. Let me pull. Why does this stuff always pop up in my way? Then I want you to pull up
Something I think should be explained or emphasized. I'm pretty sure we said it multiple times, but when you look at verse 68,
yep,
and you parse through the Hebrew, the word for Egypt, specifically in Blue Letter Bible, it's going to join together the words into Egypt. You will get that.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and get that. Because because in fact the name Egypt comes from the Greek terminology, which is Egyptos, which Egyptos means like basically a form of captivity. So it's letting you know literally in the name, and then in the scriptures it literally references Egypt as the house of bondage.
Yep.
So I'll let you go ahead and get that. But were you pulling a Blue Letter Bible?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let me find the video that I want really quickly that we're going to be looking at tonight, because this video is from Captain Alak of AOC. I know I got to clarify that a lot of people think of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but that's not who we're talking about tonight. We are talking about Alpha Omega Clan. And once I have this up on the screen, I will share it with you all. Playlist. I gotta look at my playlist and find it real quick. But it is full playlist. And also, if there's any questions at any time, like I always say, make sure to stop us no matter what the question is, no matter if you feel like it's something that you asked before, you didn't get clarification, whatever it is, stop and ask us any questions that you may have.
Yeah, this actually how Egypt is referred to as synonymous with the house of bondage comes back to Exodus 20 and 2, which says, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Yeah, that's a good precept there to bring up. I also wanted to show I guess you can bring up also the scripture or let me know after you have that, because I got another one I want you to pull up in Deuteronomy 28, because there's a bunch of different scriptures. But while you're doing that, I'll bring up
actually, yeah, that was essentially the point that I wanted to get across. So which did you want me to read?
Deuteronomy 28 and 21. This is another thing, because when you think of, because see, I've been having this back and forth debate with somebody online. They've been going into, everybody had slavery, and one thing I was trying to bring into context to them to understand the difference between the transatlantic slave trade And I guess I could say the sub-Saharan and the transatlantic slave trade are, except for modern history. I mean, I'm talking about ancient history. Yes, you did have back in the days of the Romans and stuff like that that were going in and out of different nations, but you didn't have another time in history where whole entire nations were taken. Outside the Bible talks about whole entire nations being taken. You can look into Persian history, you can see that being done. You could see that being done during the Babylonian captivities. You can see that either in the Bible or you can see that in secular history. So outside of that, you didn't see that very much, which happened in Europe. Once a lot of the people kind of got separated, you didn't see that as much with the slavery, which was happening in Africa or even in Asia to a degree. You only saw it when a lot of that slavery was happening when they were being taken out of Africa. Did they have raiders which went into that came out of the African continent, which were for the most part part of the Barbary slave trades, which went into Europe and took up to about 1.5 million Europeans? Yes, that did happen, but we're talking about 1.5 million versus, I mean, easily in the transatlantic slave trade, we're talking about conservative estimates, 12 million. That's just out of Africa. That's not even close to considering all of the indigenous people who went into slavery throughout the whole continent of America. And I want to emphasize the whole continent of America, not just North America. We're talking about Central America, South America, what would be modern day Canada, all of these different areas. So let's see, I got the video. Let me hop back over here. Let's see, Yipper says, I wonder where are the gold statues that the Aztecs hid. Believe it or not, a lot of that stuff, they start seeing more of that stuff as they do flybys. That has just been covered by deep, heavy forestry, and so that's where a lot of it has been hid. I want you to read
Deuteronomy 28 and 21.
21, correct.
This is Deuteronomy 28 and 21. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it.
Okay, that's a good one. Skip down, read 24 also. Actually, read 24 and 25.
Verse 24. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee, until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
And many of the natives were actually taken to many parts of Europe. That's not often talked about. You had many natives who were taken to Spain, taken to Portugal, indoctrinated with Catholicism, and brought back to the Americas. That did happen. And I like to emphasize that because it's often known about that Black people were taken into slavery on ships, but it's not ever really talked about how often Latinos were taken into captivity. The natives were taken into captivity. Granted, a lot of the natives were genocided, but before they were genocided, many of them were in captivity. So that and then they had their level of revolts and things like that. So all of those things need to be brought up. 30.
Verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
And I bring that up because you'll have a lot of so-called Europeans or people which have European phenotypes that'll talk about, well, my grandmother is Native American. Well, Was that did grandmother just say, you know what? I just find that white man so attractive. I want to be with him, or was she forced? Was she taken? That's not often talked about because a lot of Caucasian Europeans did that. And as we discussed, those Europeans more than likely would have fell from the nation of Edom. That is still something which takes place into modern day. That is something that many of the tribes are fighting against because um, plenty of people who will come onto the reservations, kidnap, rape a woman, and then run off the reservation, and know that the reservation does not have the means or not legally able to go off and possess them off the land. So that's something that's not often brought up. But let's see. See what's another one. Perfect one. 36. This literally happened to blacks, Latinos, and natives.
Verse
You got it?
36.
Okay.
The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, into a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone.
Mhm. I skipped one to go. Read 33. Actually, 33 and 34. I mean, for a second, think about it. Which one of these things can you not say has happened to Native Americans, Latinos also? Going ahead, folks. If you're there. Oh, never mind. I can read it. It says, the fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat it up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away. 34. So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. You don't think natives are mad every time they look up at Mount Rushmore and see their conquerors' faces up on the wall in front of them on their own reservation? And they have to see their conquerors' faces on the very money that they have to spend. And they have to listen to their conquerors' children on TV dictating laws and everything to them.
Mic check. You able to hear me?
Yeah, here you okay.
Okay. So, yeah, the reason I went off camera is because I was trying to dig through my phone through one of the secular sources that I got. So this is a book called A Short Account of the Destruction of the West Indies by a Dominican friar named Bartolomeu de la Casa, who served as a first-hand witness of the Spanish conquest into the Caribbean. Basically, what he can say for like his location happened everywhere that the Spanish had.
Oh, we lost you there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right. All right. So here's regarding the province of Nicaragua. On one occasion, the governor decided on a reallocation of slaves, either on a whim or because he wanted to remove them from a number of his companions with whom he was no longer on good terms. As a result of this upheaval, the natives did not get a chance to sow some of the fields, and consequently, there was not enough grain to go around. The Christians seized all the maize the locals had grown for themselves and their own families. And I'll stop it right there because there's another verse that gets very heavy and it's going to tie in. Actually, let me just
Go ahead, give it
go.
to us.
Yeah, all right. Let's see, which is it.
Exactly, Yipper. How great and wonderful America is over and over again, fighting for democracy and peace. Oh, we lost you again, Fuzz.
All right. You hear me?
Yep, hear you.
All right. So, okay, this is Deuteronomy 28 and verse 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and towards her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children, which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things, secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. So continuing from what I read from De La Casas, the Christian sees all the maize the locals had grown for themselves and their own families, and as a consequence, some 20 or 30,000 natives died of hunger. Some mothers even killing their own children and eating them.
And see, a lot of Israelites like to only think of that happened during 70 AD during the siege, but there's obvious evidence that happened not only then, but it happened multiple times because there were plenty of famines that came with this, and famine is part of those curses. Famine can lead to many things. I'm gonna do something interesting. In fact, I want you guys, if you have your Bibles at home, write this down in this order. This is the way I'm going to read these scriptures. And when you read them, because see, some people will just read everything always in order. They don't realize that all these things don't have to necessarily be read in order for them to still all fit and jog. You can swap these around all kind of different ways and it still works. I'm going to read Deuteronomy 28:49 first. I'm going to skip to Deuteronomy 28:68. Then I'm going to go back to 48, then 47 and 46. And listen to how this is laid out when you hear it put in a different order. So remember, this is 49, 68, 48, 47, then 46. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder upon thy seed forever. You guys hear how that sounded? You could say, you can read it straight up and down forward. You can read it backwards. It all tracks the same way. So no matter which way you read these scriptures, especially in the curses, they all tie back in together. Misha says, Yipper, right. Sad that I actually believe that nonsense growing up. I mean, we all believe that nonsense growing up. Oh God, Misha, the propaganda is really strong. It is really strong. I'm literally fighting back and forth with somebody trying to explain them that systemic racism is a real thing. That they don't even believe America's a racist country. You know why? Because they're listening to Thomas Sewell, one of the biggest sellouts that I've ever heard of in my life. But without further ado, let me pull that video up. Let's get into it.
So,
sorry.
Yeah, I did. Touching on verse 60. Verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the end of the earth as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Yep.
So here's a secular source. It's a book called to Castro, History of the Caribbean, 1492. So, verse page 28, it says, in the meantime, the Pope had enjoined on the Spanish side the duty of treating the Indians kindly and converting them to Catholicism. The sovereigns thereupon issued a royal decree. Those Indians who accepted sovereignty and submitted to it without resistance were considered subjects of the crown, and as such could not be slavery. The decree left the road open to the enslavement of those who resisted. The basis for slavery became the infamous requisition, read out by a notary to natives did not understand Spanish.
Tells you right there, did not understand Spanish. I don't know if you cut out right there on that part or you stopped there.
Yeah. I stopped there. So you know the monarch who commissioned Columbus to go to the Americas? You remember his name?
You said, do I remember the conquistador that came into America?
No, the monarch who commissioned Columbus to go to the Americas.
Was that Ferdinand?
Ferdinand II of Aragon. You want to show something on your screen to
Sure. What you got?
to hit something home? All right. Google coat of arms of Ferdinand II of Aragon. And you're going to see something hidden in there that ties back to the swift as the eagle flieth part.
Let's see. Images. Let's see if this is the right one. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. You know exactly what you're talking about. I couldn't find the StreamYard for a second.
Bingo.
Look at this. All the way down. Oh, the bow and arrows.
There's our eagle.
That's just one of the eagles.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one. What if I told you almost every single European nation? Let's prove it. Let's go ahead. I just showed a coat of arms of that was Spain, right?
Yep.
Let's go with Britain. This one's the lion, but in antiquity they also had the eagle, which they still fly the eagle to this day. Let's just put it in there. Bingo. And also, let's go to all
right, let me get out and come.
Okay, you guys see this also? What do you see there? Rome, eagle also. Because all of these places all descend out of the Roman Empire, and all of them are forms of the revised Roman Empire. Yes, Russia has one too. Bring Fuzz back in. Yes, but they all of these European nations all have a sigil with the eagle because it all goes back to Rome. And you want to know where Rome got it from? Know where Rome got it from, Fuzz? Where they got this idea for the eagle?
The Greeks.
Let's go to what is it? 4? What do I want? Or 6? I think it's 6. Oh, that's right. I'm already in the Apocrypha. Let me go back to my favorite book. Obadiah.
Oh yeah. You want to get that?
Yeah, I'll get it. And I will start with Obadiah 3. The pride of thy heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me to the ground? For though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest amongst the stars, thence I will bring thee down, saith the Lord. Babylon is another one. Babylon. You know what the symbol of Babylon was? Let's go to it and let's bring it up. Although Babylon is slightly different, but it all goes back originally to the nation of Edom. Edom used the eagle, and so did most of these European nations use the eagle also. But since you brought up Babylon, let's bring up Babylon symbol. The griffin. You see that? Got the wings of a lion with the wings of an eagle. If you notice, a lot of these European nations, if they don't use wings like an eagle, what do they use? A lion. And so this is all tying them back to Rome and Babylon. So when it's often talking about mystery Babylon, this is another way that it's tying them back together. So let me get back to the StreamYard and let's get into this video from AOC. I'll say it again. It's not Ocasio. It's not Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Let's pull it up. Where is it at? This is Alpha and Omega Clan.
Malak about to come on here from AOC, about to do his thing, people. If you like the show thus far, make sure you show some support. Thank you.
Now, to set up the premise of this, there's a group that goes by Redirected Now. They call themselves the Watchmen. Not to be mistaken with Watchmen for Israel. That is a whole different group. But was the Watchmen, they had the belief that all the children of Israel are all so-called Negroes. And that in order for you to be an Israelite, both of your parents had to be Israelites. Which for any of those people who have that doctrine, I want to bring it up real quick.
You'd have to throw the genealogy of Christ out the window.
You got to throw away the genealogy of Christ out the window completely. I mean, also, you'd have to throw away what was it, Solomon?
And King David.
You'd have to throw away King David. You'd have to throw away half of the tribes of Israel. Because Pull up Jacob. Let's just to give him an example. Jacob's wives, Leah and Rachel. Because there are parts in the Bible where, for instance, in the book of Tobit, where Tobit is giving advice to his son on who he should marry. It's not a commandment; it is advice. So, is there really even a definition? That's you're so sharp tonight, so sharp tonight. Is there? And put that up on the screen. Misha says here. Is there really even a definition of a Negro? That's most people don't catch that, because if you ask somebody what is a Negro, nobody can actually give you a strong, serious response on what a Negro actually is. And that's where it shows you the fallacy in their understanding in the first place. Let me see.
Oh yeah, you wanted me to get to Genesis 29?
Yeah.
Let me see.
And then I'm going to bring up one other one after that one, or if I get to mine first, because there is a commandment that they are not supposed to marry certain groups. Gregory Walters, hello, how are we doing, sir? Glad to have you in here. And if you have any questions about anything, please feel free to ask. No question is a bad question, and it doesn't hurt if you want to test us. Says, hey, Yipper99, do you speak Hebrew? Let me know when you're ready, sir.
Yeah, I'm at 29, but I'm trying to figure out which verse you wanted me to like.
Well, here, read through it a minute, and I want to read this verse real quick, because some of them will say that you're not supposed to marry outside of the Israelite. Hey, buddy, do you want me to teach you Hebrew? Wondering, is that to me or guess to Yipper? Maybe, I'm not sure. I'll start with Deuteronomy and 7, because the Most High did say that there were certain groups to not marry. But notice, it's none of the groups that a lot of these people ever talk about. Let's see, so I'll start with Deuteronomy 7:1. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thee. And the Lord said thy God shall deliver them from before thee. Thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. 3. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughters thou shalt not give unto his sons, nor thy daughters, got that mixed up. Thy daughters thou shalt not give unto his sons, nor his daughters shalt thou take unto thy sons. So those are the only nations which it references specifically. It says, do not with these nations. So I forgot. I guess that wouldn't be just one quick scripture to bring up.
I'm reading through the chapter and I'm just like,
I forgot, because it talks about him being with talks about his marriage to Leah and then to Rachel. And then eventually it goes down to when they're having their children, and that's another part where it starts talking about them giving their servants as concubines to him. But But even if you look into what is it, Isaac, not Isaac, Abraham having two wives. You know, so it's letting you know one of his wives was not an Israelite. Yeah, I'll let you guys have that conversation. But yeah, you don't worry about that. Drop that. I was thinking offhand and didn't think about it. Yeah, for him that's a little bit kind of, you'd have to read quite a bit, and so we got a good amount in this video to go into. So I'll hop right into this video.
Right.
And Fuzz has not seen this video, so this will be fresh for him. Yeah. So what Captain Malak is doing here is Malak of AOC is breaking down the fallacies in this so-called documentary called Whited Out 4. The first three I watched, they do a pretty good job on most of the things. But on this fourth one is when things go really off the rail. And Malak is going to bring out a lot of good information. And then if we have anything to add on to it, we're going to go in and try to add on information to what he is talking about.
To the people that have been showing support so far, thank you very much. Go ahead, man. You got it.
So first of all, I would like to say my voice is hoarse. So you're going to have to listen extra carefully. Now, my presentation is going to...
Let me know if it's too loud, not loud enough, and I can turn it up or down.
be against a documentary that's out. It's been out for a little while called White It Out Part 4. And within this documentary, these people, which are practicing Hebrew Israelites, are saying that the so-called Latinos and the natives of the Americas are not Hebrew Israelites, that they are in fact Hamites and Edomites. And that the only tribe which made it to the Americas, the only tribe which was scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, was the tribe of Judah. So this is what is brought out in White It Out Part 4. Now, this is just part 1 of my presentation. I will be doing a part 2 because it's a very long documentary. It's almost 2 hours. So this is just part 1 of burning down White It Out Part 4. So whoever's gonna run it, whenever you're ready, Joel.
All right.
Stand on this side.
Go ahead.
Play this video.
Yeah, I was going to say, notice the disrespectful way. I mean, even if they don't agree that Native American Israelites or Native Americans and Latinos are Israelites, how disrespectful and rude that they portray them in the first place is something that I wanted to, to note.
I'm not undecided.
See, now that guy definitely ain't no Israelite. He can't even pronounce the word right.
So you can see right there, from the very beginning, they start off a documentary. Well, first off, if you put out a documentary trying to show forth information, you have to make sure your information is truthful and it has to be backed by facts and sources. From the very beginning of the documentary, they show forth a paid actor, which is an East Indian playing a Native American. And they paid him to read
Here, I wanted to respond real quick. I see Yipper says, I have Rosetta Stone. Is that good or filled with Zionist BS? I wouldn't focus on trying to learn modern Hebrew because a lot of that's filled with Yiddish. We're not worried about trying to follow after what Israelis are learning or what they believe. So just focus on more or less just learning the scriptures. And then if you really want to try to learn Hebrew, focus on learning the Paleo Hebrew from one of the camps. I can advise you to go into that. But outside of Paleo Hebrew, I'd say don't even really waste your time as much on trying to learn Jewish Hebrew.
The sign that says, I'm not an Israelite. You know what else you can find later on? Someone paid the same actor to replay the same scene, and when he opens up the paper, it says, Yahoo Watchman paid me to say I'm not an Israelite. So from the very rip of the documentary, it starts off with a lie. Yeah, Joel. So that should tell you what's going to come forth in the rest of the documentary. If it begins with a lie, what do you think is going to happen throughout the course of the documentary? Come on. Video.
According to the Bible, the tribe of Judah would be the only tribe sent into this final captivity. The Bible also states that the tribe of Judah would be shipped all over the earth, which means northward, southward, eastward, and westward. The chart that is circulating shows all 12 tribes in this final captivity and only shows dispersal to 2 continents, North and South America. That is hardly the 4 corners of the earth. The tribe of Judah only have been sent all over the earth, living among different nations, speaking in many different tongues and languages, according to the lands that they were dispersed to. Those that captured these Israelites would not have separated them according to tribes because they would not have.
All right. So as you can see, they put out the bold-faced lie that only the tribe of Judah was dispersed throughout the 4 corners of the earth. But now the scriptures say otherwise. It wouldn't make any sense. And then they say that the 12 tribe charts is only saying that the 12 tribes were scattered to the Western Hemisphere, which is a lie. Because the reason for the chart is just to show who are the Israelites over here on the Western Hemisphere. We understand that Israel scattered in Africa and India throughout the 4 corners of the earth, but we're here living in America. So we're targeting the Israelites that we interface with on a day-to-day basis here in America. That's the purpose for the chart. And in the next slide, we'll show that not only Judah was the one that was scattered throughout the 4 corners of the earth. Next slide. Ezekiel chapter 12, verse 9. Oh, Kashad, bud. Save my voice a little bit.
Ezekiel chapter 12, verse 9. Son of man, hath not the house of Israel,
The house of who?
Israel,
The house of Judah only.
Israel,
The house of the southern kingdom.
Israel,
Okay, the house of Israel. Come on.
the rebellious house, said unto thee, what doest thou?
For Psalm's sake, jump to verse 15.
Verse 15. And they shall know that I am the Lord, when I shall scatter them among the nations and disperse them in the countries.
So verse 9 lets you know it's talking to the whole house of Israel. Verse 15 says he shall scatter them, all of them, the house of Israel, amongst the nations and disperse them in the countries. So this scripture right here is one scripture to cut that lie that only the tribe of Judah was dispersed throughout the 4 corners of the earth. Next slide. Read it from here, Kings, right here.
James chapter 1, verse 1. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad.
So who scattered abroad?
The 12 tribes which are scattered
The
abroad.
scriptures say that 12 tribes were scattered abroad. It doesn't say Judah was the only tribe scattered abroad. These people are not reading the scriptures. Next verse.
Reading. Luke chapter 2, verse 36. And there was one, Anna,
Come on.
prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel,
Uh-huh.
of the tribe of Asher.
Uh-huh.
She was of great age and had lived with an husband 7 years from her virginity. And she was a widow of about 84 years, which departed not from the temple, but served God with fasting and prayers night and day.
Right. So now we see here, according to Luke chapter 2, verse 36, that you still had some of the northern kingdom still living in Israel, in Jerusalem, because pursuant to the book of Kings, when the southern and northern kingdom split, you still had some of the northern tribes which decided to stay in Israel, all the way to the time of who you call Christ, Yahushua. So yes, all 12 tribes were scattered, and Judah, Benjamin, and Levi were not the only tribes which were left in Israel. We had a remnant of the northern kingdom as well. Come on, next slide. Video.
If these men were really trying to keep the laws of the Most High, then they would know that even marrying.
So I want to stop that there because I wanted to bring up a couple of scriptures to add in to what he was talking about. Fuzz, can you bring up what do you got?
To Deuteronomy 28 and 64.
Okay, going ahead.
So this is Deuteronomy 28 and verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all the people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. At the point that Moses is talking about this to Israel, he's talking to all 12 tribes.
Yep. Good catch. Good point. Bring up Jeremiah 50 and 33.
This is Jeremiah 50 and
verse. And there's so many that we can bring up. Fuzz brought up one. We're going to bring up this one, and there's like two more that I want to bring up. But it's littered all over the Bible. So for these people to profess themselves to be scholars, and for them to have known this knowledge for so long, proves either the Spirit is not on them and dealing with them, or they are massively dishonest. But continue.
This is Jeremiah 50 and 33. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judea were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go.
So this is referring to a captive, that this is referring to them being captive together. This time in Jeremiah is after the northern, this is referencing the time after the northern kingdom is no longer in the land. Let's go to another one.
Yep, I got one.
You got one? Go for it.
This is supposed to be an end time prophecy.
Yeah, these are end time prophecies. And anybody will verify that these are end time prophecies. But
the one I'm about to bring out is an end time prophecy.
Oh, go for it.
This is Jeremiah 3 and 18. In those days, the house of Judea shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers.
Ooh, that's like a case closed, face closed kind of thing right there. Yipper says, why do they all sound like they're in a fraternity, every one of them? Well, fraternities, a lot of times there's a lot of male energy, and so it's the same thing I feel like in camps, because they want to make sure that they're projecting their voices, that they're projecting the message as powerful as they possibly can. And so I think that could be part of it. That's part of why, I mean, do I believe that the camps, I mean, I would never talk down on the camps because the camps have taught me so much. But I feel like in order to reach out to other people who are going to be turned off by that camp's message, it almost needs to be filtered through people like me and Fuzz to kind of, help be that layer to get them, because when I first started hearing the camps, I learned about Hebrew Israelites years before. I only heard of them as being a hate group, never ever hearing what they were actually talking about. Then a couple of years back, now going on almost 3 years ago, when I first actually start hearing the message and start verifying what they were talking about in the scriptures, that's when it started making sense. But because of their tone, a lot of people are going to automatically reject it because a lot of our people hear tone before they hear context. And so, you know, we're not really saying anything different than a lot of these camps are saying, but the difference is a lot of times our approach is just different. And also when they're used to bringing out that message on the street corners and trying to catch people in short, you know, in short bursts, or talk to people in short bursts, a lot of times you throw out a lot of the nuance and just make overall broader statements. And so when you listen to more of them in a class setting, when they're teaching, it is similar to more like what me and Fuzz are doing. But when you're on the street corners, it can be harder to be as nuanced. And so you'll automatically just say, well, all white people are Edomites, when all of us know that that's not necessarily true. And you'll talk to many of these Hebrew Israelites and they'll tell you that. But probability, they'll just throw that out because sometimes it'll at least get the conversation going. Yeah, Yipper says true, tone before message. Another thing is, I'm older than a lot of the Hebrew Israelites out there. I know I might not look like it, but I put it this way: I listen to a lot of the different camps because all of them have valuable information that they put out. And sometimes you have to be able to siphon through what's good information through the tone, and it's not as easy for some people to do. So since I've done that, I've been able to learn a wealth of information and connect a wealth of information with stuff that I already previously knew. But for instance, one of the main camps which I listen to, Gorilla, I believe, is 30 years old, or maybe 31 years old. Captain Tazama out of Sakari, San Diego, he's like 31 years old. And Deacon, these are the top three in that organization. Deacon is 36. So that means that even Deacon, who I look at all of them as elders to me in the faith, are all younger than me age-wise. It's the same thing with like the head of Believers of the Way, Ratazan. Ratazan, I think, is maybe 32, 33. I'm roughly 10 years older than a lot of these people that you'll see, the leaders of the camps, and a lot of the people who are out there with them are even younger than that. Hassad Karab with Sakari, powerful teacher. Hassad, I think, is maybe 23.
Yeah, roughly 22 or 23.
22, 23. Yeah, Wi-Fi. Oh yeah. I used to watch Wi-Fi Orlando before they were even Wi-Fi. You know, old boy with the high top. I used to watch him when it was just him and one other guy, and they were doing their own thing, and they weren't part of Wi-Fi. I remember when Naquam went out there, and when they became Wi-Fi Orlando. So I mean, the only problem is they didn't learn how to chop down some of the videos. Some of the videos be super long. But they do excellent teaching. Yeah. I can't remember old boy's name. Sorry to him out there if he ever runs across this video, but powerful teacher. And then there's people within IUIC who I like to listen to. There's trying to remember what other of course I can't forget which he's an elder in the faith and in age, Priest Zabak out of House of Israel, HOI. I mean, there's a lot of camps out there who are doing good work, you know, and teaching to the flock. And I look at IUIC as one of the best with a lot of the secular information. IUIC and Sakari are probably the two best with secular information. Followed right behind by GMS, Great Millstone. So I mean, And then Fire of God is another one which I'm a big fan of. So, you know, many of these camps do a good job of teaching and can destroy madness like what you'll hear here. So sorry for going on my little mini rant, but I do respect all the camps. There's probably only one camp that that's a major camp that I don't listen to, and that would be GOOC. I don't even know if most of y'all even know who that is, but have some issues with them. Just on faith is well, on some of their breakdowns on stuff I don't quite agree. But oh yeah, that's right. I had what else did I have? I think I had something else in Isaiah. Let's see. To establish that point. Did I have you bring up 33 and 7?
Isaiah 33?
Yeah.
No, not yet. Going to it now. Here is book of Isaiah, chapter 33 and verse 7.
Yep.
Are you sure?
Or wait a minute, is that 33 and 7 or is 30? Yeah, it should be 33 and 7.
This Isaiah 33 and verse 7. Behold, their valiant ones shall cry without. The ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. I don't think this is it. The highways lie waste, the wayfaring man ceaseth.
Yeah, that's not the one. Hold on one second. Which one did I want? It should be 30, Jeremiah 33 and 7. Let me see. Hold on. We have 33. It says, and I will cause the captivity of Judah and the captivity of Israel to return, and will build them as at the first.
Let me see.
Yeah, hold on one second.
Oh, I think I found it. Give me a second. This is book of Isaiah, chapter 40 and verse 6. Oh, wait. What? Oh, no. You're looking for Jeremiah 33 and 7.
Oh, didn't I say Jeremiah?
No, you said Isaiah.
Oh, I thought I said Jeremiah. My bad.
So this is Jeremiah 33 and 7. Yeah, this is what you were looking for. And I will cause the captivity of Judea and the captivity of Israel to return, and will build them as at the first. And I will cleanse them from all their iniquity, whereby they have sinned against me, and I will pardon all their iniquities, whereby they have sinned, and whereby they have transgressed against me.
And then one last one before we hop back into the video. Ezekiel 4. You know which one I'm talking about?
I'm going to it right now.
You know, the lay on the left side.
Yeah, okay. Ezekiel, this is Ezekiel 4 and 4. Lie also upon thy left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it, according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon it, thou shalt bear their iniquity. For I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity, according to the number of the days, 390 days. So shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, And thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judea 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year.
And I was going to say, go on ahead. You know the breakdown on that. Go ahead and break it down for him.
So the so when Ezekiel is lying down on his, what was it? When Ezekiel is lying on his left side, he is lying down. He is told to physically lie down for 390 days, which is supposed to represent 390 years.
For the captivity of Judah.
That's for Israel.
Oh, for Israel, sorry. And then
for lying on the right side, he lies down physically for 40 days, when it's supposed to represent 40 years for the captivity of Judea.
And put that and what's the math on that? How many years is that?
That is, I'm trash at math.
I'm not the greatest at math either, but let me pull up something.
3.
Let's see who out there is good at math. So I'm gonna give you guys a number. Let's see, calculator. There we go.
430.
Okay. Now, I want you to put into the calculator. I'll keep that in mind, everybody out there. 430, right?
Mm-hmm.
1 plus 1 equals 2, Misha. Yipper's funny. Misha says 430, correct. Now, 1441 to 1865. How many years is that?
Hmm. 424.
424. It's pretty close to 430, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, 1441 is when the Portuguese first started taking slaves out of West Africa. It could easily surmise that slavery could have went on a couple more years before that, but that's pretty weird. That's pretty damn close to how long slavery went on from when they first started taking slaves in the the Portuguese first started taking slaves to Portugal and Spain, and then when they start taking slaves out of the now Caribbean in the 1490s, all the way up to the first African slaves being brought, or so-called African slaves being brought to the east coast of the United States in 1619. And we also know that Juneteenth, the reason why Juneteenth is a holiday is because they didn't end the slavery right then and there. There was still slavery going on, correct? So slavery went on for a few more years after 1865 in various different areas. This Texas was, in Texas, Juneteenth signifies 1865 when they actually had to send in the National Guard because it was still going on in a massive scale. But let's get back into the video. And remember what I read earlier about in the Torah, it only gives 7 nations that the Israelites are not supposed to marry. Does Tobit give advice to say that they should try to marry Israelites? Is it some from different prophets in the Bible frowned upon if they don't marry Israelites? Yes. But the only place it gives a law on who they're not supposed to marry is it names those 7. Let me remember. What was it? Or if you want to pull it up, Deuteronomy 7. I think it's what 7 and 2, or actually, yeah, I guess you can start 7 and 2. And I'll just hold that because he's going to read this, and let's see. I'll see if Malak pulls that one up or not. But have Deuteronomy 7 ready.
Mm-hmm.
False accusation, false information that they're bringing out is to say that Israelites are only allowed to marry within their tribe, and that you're only an Israelite if both your parents are Israelites. But we all know that to be false according to Scripture. Yeah,
Who funded them?
I have no idea.
Outside of your tribe was against the law. So even if the so-called Latinos and South American women were Israelites from another tribe, in which we know they are not, men of Judah are supposed to marry the women of Judah. This chart and the teachings behind it is causing an increase in the sins of Israel.
So they're saying men of Judah are only supposed to marry women of Judah. Every male of each tribe is only supposed to marry within their tribe. And they say that's against the law. But I challenge anyone to show me a Torah law where it states that you can only marry within your tribe. Right. Next slide. Come on. Now, Luke chapter 1, verse 5 and verse 36. One scripture which can cut that. They must have ignored this scripture or breezed over it. Right. Read that, King.
Luke chapter 1, verse 5. There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias, come on, of the course of Abia. And his wife was of the daughters of Aaron.
His wife was where? Of who?
Of the daughters of Aaron.
Uh-huh.
And her name was Elizabeth.
Right, so now this is Zacharias, a priest of the course of Abia. His job was to light the incense, the frankincense within the temple. Right. His wife was Elizabeth, a descendant of the lineage of Aaron. Read verse 36, King.
Verse 36. And behold, thy cousin Elizabeth, she hath also conceived a son in her old age.
Uh-huh.
And this in the 6th month with her who is called barren.
So now when you read verse 34 to verse 36, this is the angel speaking to Mary, saying that her cousin Elizabeth has also conceived. So now, if Zacharias and Elizabeth are of the tribe of Levi, and Elizabeth is cousin to Mary, which is the mother of Yahushua, but Yahushua was of the line of Judah, then there must have been somewhere along the line some tribe mixing. Either Mary was a Levite, or maybe her mother was a Levite, which would make her mother related to either Elizabeth's mother or father, which is how they would be cousins. But either way, you look at it, there was a Judite who laid with a Levite. So now to say that it's against law is to say that Yahushua's family line was brought forth through breaking the law. Because according to you, you say tribe mixing is against the law. Right. But this here cuts that false doctrine. Next slide.
Hmm.
Come on.
Let's hold that.
Actually fits the description of many of your modern African tribes. You have
So yeah, I wanted to stop that there because also, let's go ahead and read that. What did I have you get? Deuteronomy 7?
7 and 1.
Okay, going ahead and read that Deuteronomy 7 and 1 again.
So this is Deuteronomy 7 and 1. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites, and the Amorites and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son.
And so what that is showing you within the Torah, where the laws are, it does not give you a law to not marry outside of your tribe. It literally just says don't marry these 7 nations. And if you go into the table of nations, it literally tells you that there are many other nations which it does not even name in here. It doesn't say you can't marry Ishmaelite in there. It doesn't even say that you can't even marry an Edomite in there, which it says the Edomites are the Israelites' professed enemy. So the idea that you could only marry within your Israelite tribe is nonsense.
Give me 1 second.
And I see Ali out there. Hello, Ali.
I'm going to.
Oh, you have another one?
No, I'm pulling up 2 right now. Give me one moment.
But what these people are talking about is incorrect. So what they were saying is King David, when he took Bathsheba was a Hittite. He took her. Well, actually, no, she wasn't Hittite. Can't remember what she was off the top of my head. But she was not an Israelite. She was can't remember his name right now. The husband was a Hittite. But when he took Bathsheba to wife, she was an Israelite, definitely not a Judite. Even Solomon, you think over his 700 wives and 300 concubines, all of them were from the tribe of Judah? Does that make sense? It literally tells you that he took wives from all of these different nations. And so their understanding is just, I don't even think it's their understanding. I think that they know these things, but intentionally ignore them.
All right. I got what I wanted.
What is it going to be? What, one for this one or?
Yeah, it's referring to mixing outside of the tribe.
Okay, yep, go ahead.
Okay, this is. One moment. Get a good one. Damn. All right. Let me just go with this one. All right. This is Book of Ruth, chapter 2 and 21. And Ruth the Moabitess said, he said unto me also, thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest. Ruth the Moabites, outside of the nation of Israel.
Definitely.
All right.
And that's in Christ's lineage.
All right. Here is Ruth 4 and Ruth chapter 4 and verse 13. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife, and when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son.
Okay.
And verse 7, skipping down to verse 7.
I was going to, before you finish verse 7, that's also Christians' ideology of marriage. That also cuts against that also. Because can you read that one more time? What happened for Boaz to take Ruth to be his wife?
Yeah, he had to, if I remember correctly.
Just go ahead and reread it. It says it right there plainly.
Yeah. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her.
What do you guys think went into her means? Hello? I mean, it should be pretty clear what him going into her meant. But continue.
The Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son.
Yeah, so when he went into her, that's when she became his wife. Now, in the Bible, does it talk about a bill that you write for marriage? Yes. Does it talk about but it doesn't mean that that's the only way. Yipper says, does Bathsheba have any relation to Sheba? No. Queen of Sheba is no. They're not the same people.
So continuing, verse 16. And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom and became nurse unto it. And the woman her neighbors gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse. the father of David. Moving on down to the genealogy of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
This is Matthew chapter 1 and verse 5. And Salmon begat Boaz of Rachab, and Boaz begat Obed of Ruth, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David the king, and David the king begat Solomon of her that had been the wife of Urias.
And what you named, what, 3 kings there? You named Solomon, you named David, Rahab. Those are all kings. So if they were all kings of Judah, but yet they have Ruth, who's a Moabite, in their genealogy, please explain that. That's not even one of the tribes of Israel. That's literally going outside to a heathen nation. So
and just skipping all the way down to 16 in the same chapter, Matthew 1, verse 16. And Jacob begat Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Yahushua, who is called Hamashiach.
So you guys would have to say that even Yahushua, Yeshua, however you want to say it, or Christ Jesus himself is not an Israelite according to these people's doctrine. But I want you to pull it. You know where they're talking about second Esdras fits more to African tribes. Go ahead and pull up second Esdras. You know which one to pull up, right? Ours are
13.
Yeah. Yep. So let's continue. Because they're about to say some stuff in here. I got a precept that I'm going to pull that I don't follow their doctrine here, because this is another. I was going to bring this one up earlier, but I knew this was in the video, so I was going to wait and bring this up in the video, because we showed earlier how many curses in Deuteronomy 28 fit natives and Latinos. That part we're just showing with the Bible. In this part 2 that we're probably going to do next time around, I'm going to actually start showing some of the archaeology, which one of my good friends and brothers, he kind of disagrees with some of this stuff, but hopefully I can, give him some context and help him see the way, because the Bible tells a story. Now, if you want to depend more on what you believe, people with a interest who want to hide information and twist information, if you want to believe more what they're saying and more what the sources and what actual, tribes are saying, granted, tribes are not all monolithic. And I'm not saying every single Native American tribe is necessarily an Israelite, or every Latino is an Israelite, or for that matter, I'm not even saying every black person is necessarily Israelite. But I'm saying that for the most part, these are the groups of people which fit these curses. And so when it comes down to it, you still got to try the spirit by the spirit. If these curses and stuff aren't lining up with you, if this doctrine and word doesn't line up with you, then maybe you're not. So I don't go around trying to force every black person or every Latino or Native American to believe they're Israelite, because you might not be going further enough back. And people who we automatically say that are definitely not could be. So you can be cursing one of your own brothers or sisters when you automatically assume. So let's get back to the video.
The Limba tribe, the Bimaliki tribe, and countless others that have more historical proof that the passage refers to them, rather than a lot of the groups that are named on the so-called 12 tribes chart.
On the border of Black Africa, as the Nubian drummers played into the night, I was reminded.
So now, next false accusation. She says the passage is the second Esdras fit more African tribes as opposed to the native tribes here in America. She says because the African tribes will be keeping laws. So she's saying that the natives, upon being so-called discovered and studied, that they were not keeping the Most High's laws. They were not keeping.
Another thing, I wanted to cut Captain Malak off for a second. But one thing which I noticed interesting is she brought up the Limba tribe. Well, if you listen to Israelis, they say the Limbas have matching DNA with them. So by them making this statement that the Limbas are definitely Israelites, you're basically by default saying that the people in Israel have a biological and DNA claim to being Israelites, which you refute that. So you can't have it one way and then have it the other way also. Very contradictory information, what you're saying there. Also, the Limbas, which would track to more the region of Cush, would lend to the fact that they're Cushites. Because here's one thing which I ask people like them, which are so-called Negro onlys. If all the Israelites are so-called Negroes or so-called blacks or African people, and we know that Hamites are African people, who are the Hamites in Africa? Are you going to tell me that the Hamites are actually somebody else different completely? That they're not African tribes? That they're not the people of Egypt? That they're not the people of Cush? That they're not the people who were of North Africa? That they're all somebody else different than just Africa is where the northern tribe is at? But I'll let him continue.
Customs of their forefathers, the Israelites. But let's see if that's true. Come on. Now, she said there's no sources, right? Or lack of sources. Well, here's just to name a few. I didn't name more.
And I'll freeze this for a second in case you all wanted to go into these different sources, which he has. Lost Tribes and Promised Land, Ronald Sanders, The History of the Indies, New Spain, Fray Diego Duran, History of the American Indians, James Adair, which is a really good book. The Medieval Empire of the Israelites, Robert Grishin, Vladimir Malamed, Crónica de la Santa Provincia de San Diego, F. Baltazar de Medina, The 10 Tribes of Israel, Timothy R. Jenkins, and View of the Hebrews, Ethan Smith. So I read that out. He'll read it out again. So that just gives you a little bit more time to be able to suss these out and write them down if you want to.
More because a lot of these I used. Some of these and more I used in the documentary Despierta, so I didn't want to throw out all the sources. Lost Tribes of Promised Land, Ronald Sanders. History of the Indians of New Spain, Fray Diego Duran. History of the American Indians, James Adair. The Medieval Empire of the Israelites, Robert Grishin and Vladimir Malamed. Crónica de la Santa Provincia de San Diego by F. Baltasar de Medina. The 10 Tribes of Israel, Timothy R. Jenkins. View of the Hebrews by Ethan Smith, made in 1825. These are just a few sources which speak of the natives being Hebrew Israelites. So that cuts that line of there being no sources to show and prove that the natives within the Americas are descendants of the Hebrews.
Not to mention, there are plenty of books which the Mormons have a lot of actual archaeology, which is found, and there's all kind of stuff which is in museums, which has been hidden, which has been they thought was fake, and some people come out with videos saying they're debunked, and then they come out later on and like, oh well, actually this isn't debunked. You go into which I can bring that up if I need to, but I'll probably bring it up later on because this is just the first part. But in the Americas, there's literally more Hebrew artifacts found than there is actually in Israel. Not to mention the thousands of artifacts that were found in Puerto Rico. I mean, when I hear people make the claims which they make, I'm not sure if they were going to bring it up and read it or not. But Fuzz, do you have Second Esdras with 13?
Yeah, and I also have the definition of Parsworth.
Yeah. Going ahead.
Or actually, you can put it up on share screen. Should be better that way.
You're talking about in the Jewish Encyclopedia?
Yep.
Okay.
So, okay. This is Second Esdras, chapter 13, and verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes, which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, and go forth into a further country, where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood, till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely, of 1.5 years, and the same region is called Arsareth.
All right, and so what I have on the screen here, that's Arzareth. It's saying a land which no man dwelt in. When they make the claim, oh, well, you know, it makes more sense that Second Esdras fits Africans. People were living in Africa. So that claim is just dumb on its face, period. I'm like, what are you talking about? There was only one place which nobody was living. That was the Americas. Let's not play stupid games here. So what it says here in, let me scroll back to the top so you guys can see it. The JewishEncyclopedia.com, the unedited full text of the 1906 Jewish Encyclopedia by Morris Jastrow Jr., Kaufman Kohler. The name of the land behind the great river, far away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses, until the time of the restoration, according to fourth Esdras, which they refer to second Esdras as fourth Esdras in here because you have the books of Ezra in the Old Testament. 45. Columbus identified America with this land. See K. Serling's Christopher Columbus, translated by Dr. C. Gross. So you guys can go into more. But this is the source here. You guys can read through more of it. It does have, you know, everybody has their own different say-sos and opinions and stuff, but this is in the Jewish Encyclopedia backing this up. Also, let me pull up one more source. I thought this was kind of funny because it puts it into a movie. I showed this one not that long ago. And this is in the videos, Hollywood Knows. What is it? The movie 1492. So let me pull that clip up one more time. Okay, that's all right. And let's share screen on it. So this will help back up what's being said here. I guess Hollywood made this up too for I don't know what reason. I don't know why. And the people who made this movie, trying to remember. Let's in fact, I will go in and show. Didn't Columbo take a Hebrew interpreter? Yes, he took a Hebrew interpreter with him. Dang it, I wish I had my information with me at the time to bring it up, but I believe I put it in my video. I'll put it into the chat after this. Just remind me if I forget, Misha. But here, let's go on ahead and play it. It says 1492 Conquest to Paradise, the movie 1992, how Christopher Columbus found the New World. Before I play that, let me look up a little bit of background information on it. Let's look up which studio produced this so I can be accurate in my statement before I say this.
Peak irony if it was like Columbia Pictures.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Which movie theater released this? It was directed by Ridley Scott. Let's see which. I don't need the plot. Cast music. I'm trying to find who released this. This is by Paramount Pictures. So let's see who owned Paramount Pictures in 1992. I'm curious. Let's see. Let's do a little research on Paramount Pictures real quick. It's kind of interesting. You guys notice Paramount, they use a mountain in the background. Interesting, right? Kind of interesting, right? Let's see. Paramount Pictures dates in existence from 1912, founding date, famous players, film company, Hungarian-born founder Adolf Zucker. Let's see who Adolf Zucker is, with partners Daniel Frothman and Charles Frothman. Let's see who these gentlemen are. Because I'm looking. Zucker was born to a Jewish family in Rices, Hungary in January 1873. Let's go back. Okay. Just wanted to put that out. And Daniel Frothman. Let's see who Daniel Frothman is. Frothman was born to a Jewish family in Sandusky, Ohio. Oh, with his brothers Charles and Gustav Frothman. So, Jewish Encyclopedia says Arzareth is America. A film started by Jewish gentlemen put in a clip of Arzareth citing to America being Arzareth. So let's continue. I'll play it.
Why do you wish to sail west?
To open a new route to Asia. Asia is the richest kingdom, the land of spices and gold. At the moment, there are only two ways of reaching it. By sea, sailing around the African continent. The journey takes a year. Or by land. But the Turks have closed this route to all Christians. There is a third way. By sailing west across the ocean sea.
The distance is unknown. It's said to be infinite.
Superstition. I believe the Indies are no more than 750 leagues west of the Canary Islands.
Can you be so certain?
The calculations of Toscanelli, Marin de Tir, Esdras.
Esdras is a...
Esdras!
West.
2 minutes, and already you're a dead man.
For telling the truth?
Yes. We are burning people for less. The men you're about to confront have no emotion.
Let's back that up. Which scriptures did you just point out?
2 minutes, and already you're a dead...
Marin de Tir, Esdras.
Esdras is a Jew.
Esdras is a Jew. 13, 40 through 45.
Yep.
And so, yeah, those people who try to say, oh, well, I think that means Africa. Well, I don't know why you guys get that thinking. What is it? I had a precept I wanted you to bring up. Because I don't follow them at all. What they're saying. Let's get back over here. And let's see. I wonder. Oh yeah, that's right. If it says that, and we've read scriptures already, stating that they would be in captivity together, they will walk out of the land of the north. Correct? Correct, Fuzz?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So that would mean that they would have to be in the same place. So if you were saying, in which Watchmen, they're saying that they are Israelites, they are a tribe of Judah, they are Jews, then how are you saying that the bulk of the northern tribe is in Africa? What is it? What did I want you to bring up? I forgot. Isaiah 11 and 13. I want them to explain this prophecy. How does this prophecy work?
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 11, and verse 13. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judea shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judea, and Judea shall not vex Ephraim. But
now, can somebody tell me how are people who really are not even, that are not connected to each other, that don't have interactions with each other, envying and vexing each other? Please explain that to me. How are people in Africa vexing African Americans? Please explain that one to me.
they'd have to be adversaries too.
Yeah, and adversaries. How are we adversaries with people in Africa? How does that literally makes no damn sense. That's the reason why I don't get when people bring up precepts like this. Oh, can you give me Ephraim is a cake unturned?
Actually, you probably could have, for Isaiah 11, you probably should have tacked on verse 12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judea from the four corners of the earth. So they cannot be in the same place in the continent of Africa.
Well, it doesn't make any sense if you're saying that. Oh, well, basically they're all Negroes. So you're even from your own lips basically saying that Israel is only in Africa and in the Americas. So by that logic, how are they dispersed to the four corners of the earth? Because you're saying that they got to have both Israelite parents. And so if they don't have both Israelite parents, then how are they mixed into all these different nations? Because they would stick out in every nation. In China, is there a big contingent of black people sitting over there that you see? In Japan, is there a big contingent? So what it would mean is some of these Israelites, that's why I bring up all the time about the wheats and the tares, about the lamb and the goats. But so we're going ahead.
This is Hosea chapter 7 and verse 8. Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned.
So, how do you mix yourself amongst the people and be a cake not turned? Does that mean, oh, you only mix yourself amongst African people? That's the logic we're going with here. Also, it literally said that Ephraim would be cut off. So if the northern tribe is going to be cut off and not know who they are, how are you telling me that they're still keeping their traditions all this time? That doesn't make any sense. So what you're saying is, okay, Israelis, Jewish people over there, they've kept who they are, and the Limba Jews have kept who they are. By that one scripture saying that they would forget who they are, shows that neither one of those tribes, if they're remembering, they're talking about that they have a history going all the way back, and a big portion of the tribe remember, that literally goes against prophecy. So right there, you are making yourself a false prophet alone. Bring this back up. What were you bringing up, Fuzz?
No, just wanted to see if I needed to load up another thing, but go ahead and play.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're only gonna go for a little bit longer. Finish it off for tonight. We'll get back to part 2.
Israelites. She obviously hasn't done unbiased research. Come on.
You have people taking tidbits of information that have been dropped here and there, such as finding fragments of the Hebrew language in the Americas to claim that Latinos, North American Indians, and Mexicans are Israelites, when clearly they don't even fit the narrative of the people in mass who have been keeping the law of Yahuwah from the time of the Assyrian captivity until now. That describes people that are living in Africa right now. Now, the Bible clearly tells you that as a whole, they would be walking and living according to the law, which fits the
That's a lie. No, it doesn't. Well, let's continue.
tribes in Africa.
Here we go. Further lies. So here she goes again, saying that the natives were not keeping customs of the ancient Hebrews, and that there's only tidbits of information. But I'll say this: outside of Israel, the second, or the place which is second most, which is found to have Hebraic artifacts, is America. Right. Way more than in Africa. So the most Hebraic fact,
Which I noticed. I wanted to correct that, which I got that wrong. Outside of Israel, America has the most. I said America had the most, more than Israel. So I stand corrected.
is, of course, found in Israel. The second most is found in the Americas. Easy research, and you come to that realization. Continue. She said they were not keeping the Torah laws. If they were Hebrews, the Bible says they would be keeping the Torah laws until the last days. But according to Scripture, the Most High says if we come away from His laws, everything will be taken from us, including our identity. So this is one of the sources. James Adair, History of the American Indian, page 38. The Indian language, because she did mention the language. The Indian language and dialects appear to have the very idiom and genius of the Hebrew. Their words and sentences are expressive, concise, emphatical, sonorous, and bold, and often both in letters and in signification synonymous with the Hebrew language. She obviously has not read this source. And James Adair, to this day, is considered source material. Now, continuing, it is a common open mark that there is no language in which Hebrew words may not be found. Probably Hebrew was the first and only language to a distance of time and place introduced to change. Which is going into a different topic. Let's continue on. It says much more so to an Indian trader who acquired by his own applications. However, I will endeavor to make up the deficiency of Hebrew with plenty of good solid Indian roots. The Indian nouns have neither cases nor declensions. They are invariably the same, through both numbers after Hebrew manner. In their verbs, they likewise sometimes use the preterperfect instead of the present tense indicative mood, as Rasa Aire, Apishre, meaning yesterday I went and saw, and Imako Aire, meaning now I go and see. Like the Hebrew, they have no comparative or superlative degree. They express a preference by the opposite extreme, as Chekustin, you are more virtuous than I am, by prefixing the adverbs which express little and much the former words, it conveys the same meaning, the former of which is agreeable to the Hebrew language. She needs to read this source. She would have made that statement if she would have read this. Or maybe she would have just glossed over it. Come on. Page 96, 97. Let us now turn to the copper color American Hebrews. While the sanctified new fruits are dressing, a religious attendant is ordered to call 6 of their old beloved women to come to the temple and dance the beloved dance with joyful hearts, according to the old beloved speech. They cheerfully obey. Key words here. Cheerfully, keep that word in mind. Cheerfully obey. And in carrying in their hand a bundle of small branches of various green trees. And they join the same number of old magi or priests who carry a cane in one hand adorned with white feathers, having likewise green bows in their other hand, which they pulled from their holy arbor and carefully placed there, encircling it with several rounds. If you're practicing Hebrew Israelite, that would sound very familiar to you. Let's see what it sounds familiar to. Next slide. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 39 and verse 40. Right here, that's the one.
Also, in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath.
Come on.
40. And ye shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, boughs, come on, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook. And ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days.
See that? So this is the custom the Lord of the natives was still keeping in the Americas. Now this is documented first-hand account, source material. The natives were keeping the laws. So this sister within this documentary is clearly incorrect in her understanding of the natives and the custom that they were keeping. Next slide. Page 99. The Indians formally observed the grand festival of the annual expiation of sin, or an atonement of sin, at the beginning of the first new moon, in which their corn became full-eared, but for many years past, they are regulated by the seasons of their harvest. And on that head, they showed more religious patience than the Hebrews formerly did, who instead of waiting till their grain was ripe, forced their barley, which ripened before any sort they planted. And they are perhaps as skillful in observing the revolutions of the moon as ever the Israelites were, at least to the end of the first temple, for during that period, instead of measuring time by astronomical calculations, they knew it only by the phases of the moon. In the like manner, the supposed red Hebrews of the American deserts annually observed their festivals and Nitak Yah. Notice that? Nitak Yah. Days of afflicting themselves before their deity or before their God. Now that's something else that sounds familiar. If you're practicing Israelite, you already know what this is going into. But let's find out. Next slide. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 26 and verse 27. Come on.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 26. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, also on the 10th day, this 7th of the 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. A what? A day of atonement. Come on. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
So you see that? Now this is another Torah law which the natives were keeping. But the woman throughout the documentary keeps saying that the natives were not keeping the Most High's laws. They're not Israelites. Then where did they learn these customs from? If not from their forefathers. Come on, next slide. View of the Hebrews, Ethan Smith, 1825. From various authors and travelers among the Indians, the fact that the American Indians are the 10 tribes of Israel will be attempted to be proved by the following arguments. And this is a very good book because it has documented accounts of a lot of travelers amongst the natives of the Americas. And this is all the things that they observed amongst the natives. They have one origin. Their language appears to be Hebrew. They have their imitation of the Ark of the Covenant in ancient Israel. They practice circumcision. They acknowledge one and only one God. The celebrated William Penn gives account of the natives of Pennsylvania, which go to corroborate the same point. The Indians having one tribe answering in various respects to the tribe of Levi, sheds further light on this subject. Several prophetic traits of character given to the Hebrews do accurately apply to the Aborigines of America. The Indians being in tribes with their heads and the names of tribes afford further light. 10. They're having something answering to the ancient cities of refuge. Yes, the natives had a cities of refuge. Seems to evince their Israelite extraction. 11. Their variety of traditions, historical and religious, do wonderfully accord with the idea that they descended from the ancient 10 tribes. Come on, next slide. View of the Hebrews. Here we go, page 89, page 90. Their language appears clearly to be Hebrew. In this, Dr. Edwards, Mr. Adair, and others were agreed. So several men who studied the natives' customs and language came to the same conclusion. Edwards, after having a good acquaintance with their language, gave his reasons for believing it to have been originally Hebrew. Both he remarks are found without prepositions, and are formed with prefixes and suffixes, a thing probably known to no other language. And he shows that not only the words, but the construction of phrases and both have been the same. Their pronouns as well as their nouns, Dr. Edward remarks, are manifestly from the Hebrew. Moving down here. He says that after living 40 years among them, he obtained such knowledge of the Hebrew idiom of their language that he viewed the event of their having for more than 2 millenaries, and without the aid of literature, preserved their Hebrew language so pure to be but little short of a miracle. So throughout the course of time, the dialect did change, but its very root and nature was the same. Next slide. Here we go. Go back. A table of words and phrases is furnished by Dr. Bourdonnais, Adair, and others, with several added from good authority to show how clearly the Indian language is from the Hebrew. Some of these Indian words are taken from one tribe and some from another. So you have the English rendition, Jehovah. In Indian, they pronounce the name Yehovah. We say Yehovah. Coincidence though, right? God. In the Indian, they say Ale, Ale. In Hebrew, Chaldaic, Alim or Lahayim. English, Jah. And the native, Yah or Wa. See that? Shiloh, Shilu, Shiloh. Heavens, Kamim, Shamim or Shemayim. In English, Father. In the Indian language, Abba. In the Hebrew language, Abba. In the English, man. In the Indian, Ish or Ishtet. In the Hebrew, Ish. Woman. In the Indian language, Ishto. In the Hebrew, Ishto. English, wife. Hebrew tongue, Awa. Hebrew, Ewe or Eve.
Keep going.
Oh, Jerome's messing up my presentation like he messed up my shawls.
Oh, you give a bell for that? Now we gotta make sure, because some people said the stuff freeze, so we gotta make sure we on it. All right, let's go back.
And this is a good point.
Let's make this happen.
I feel like that's a good point to take a break and stop at for next time. A lot more for us to get into in the part 2, and I got the feeling that this might even, I don't know how many parts that we're going to turn this into, but I got a lot of information that I want to bring out. Well, I know we got more stuff in the year. I know that there's stuff that I want to bring out the Guerrilla Supply, like going into Quetzalcoatl and going into like Sarah films. And yeah, Misha also brought stuff to me. I'll put it on the screen about the Mystery of Chaco Canyon documentary. It says the Mystery of Chaco Canyon documentary blew my mind on how in tune ancestors were with the sun and moon cycles. Why is the sun and moon? Come on, people. I mean, I love my boy Thomas, but I think Thomas is buying into some of that false narrative of trying to hide things. I mean, I got videos that I can show you where some of the natives have went over to Israel in certain ceremonies that they've been trying to figure out how to complete. That the natives from over here were completing the ceremonies for them, stuff that they haven't figured out how to do for thousands of years. That they knew the whole thing in totality. But you know, I mean, there's just so much information that we can go into proving this. Like, and so I've always believed that there's more evidence of Native Americans and Latinos being, being Israelites than there even is of so-called African Americans and people of the transatlantic slave trade. And so we're gonna go more into that on part 2, part 3, maybe even a part 4. We'll see. But that said, Fuzz, you got anything you'd like to say before we get out of here?
No, I'm good. You pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I mean, you what do you think about some of this information? Because this is your first time seeing this video.
I have to view the rest of it for myself, and
I can send it over to you.
Yeah, I need to load up a whole bunch of precepts, so I'll back for next time, because I appreciate these brothers like debunking the crap out of that false prophet documentary.
I'll send you both of them because he didn't go through the whole video. He only did part of the video, and I think they talked about a part 2, but I don't know if he never got around to it or if it got taken down or whatever. But he only got halfway through with their video and like destroyed it. I'll send you both of. I'll send you this video and then the whited out part 4, what they call it. Actually, I'll just send you all their channels and let you be. I mean, all those videos. And anybody else, Misha. If you want them, Yipper, whatever, you guys just get in contact with me, and I'll send you whatever of this information which I put up here to see. Actually, let me do this. For anybody who's watching this video, watching it later on, let me go get this video currently right now, and let's get this video and then put it in the chat. So you all can check this out later on. So yes, this is AOC's video right here, which you guys can click on this video we're watching. If you want to go through it, we stopped off at the 27:35 minute mark, but you guys can always go forward more. Say this has been Hebrew Apologetics. Of course, I am your host, Marcus Cage, here with my good brother and colleague, Fuzz the Pharaim. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Shalom, all praises to the Most High. Exactly, well said, Misha. Buenas noches. And we are gonna say, I guess we'll end off with Kwam Yasharah. All right, brothers, have a good week.